Okay, guys, so here's the deal. We're going to go right into this. It's going to be a super short video. I'm going to be making a massive amount of videos about where it is best to live. First, we're going to start with the states. All the American states, New Mexico, Maine, California, whatever. We're going to go through all of them. Then we're going to do an analysis as to which ones are the best out of the top 5 for a particular category. Then we're going to go through each different type of category that there actually is. Now, I have here an article specifically from finance.yahoo.com. And I wasn't happy with it. And what they produced was an article that said, here's the 15 worst states to live in or live on just a Social Security check. So all you've got is basically Social Security check. These are the 15 worst states to live in. But as I read through this, you're going to hear statistics that have no bearing because you just don't know what they are. They don't make sense. I don't want to do something like this. And I've seen another law firm do something like this where they went through each and every state and then they did an analysis on like this state had this much and this state. I want the numbers to make sense to you guys. If you live in a state that is particularly awesome or particularly awful when it comes to having and receiving Social Security benefits, whether it's too expensive or you're going through too many CDRs or, basically, your rent goes up way too fast or the government just doesn't interact with you in a proper way, let me know. I want to put that into the future series of videos. Let's go through this one. Let's go through this article, which I'm not happy with, and then start to think of ways that could be done better so that when I make the big series, we actually help a lot of people with providing where they should go live. Here we go. 15 worst states to live on, just a Social Security check. The average monthly payment for Social Security retirement benefits is $1,613.77. That's retirement benefits. A lot of SSDI people, not SSI people. That's not enough to get by in most places in America, but Social Security was never meant to serve as a retiree's sole source of income, even though that is the sole source of income for a disabled person. Yet for many seniors, Social Security is exactly that, which won't cover the cost of living in some states. All right, here we go. Remember, I don't like this article. You might be able to scrape by in the cheaper 35 states, but Go Banking Rates identified 15 states that retirees can scratch off the list if Social Security is their only source of income, meaning you just won't have enough. In order of best, of worst to worst of the worst, here are the states. New Hampshire, cost of living index, 109.9. Once again, cost of who even knows what that number is? I don't want my videos when I do the big set to be like this. Cost of living index, 109.9. Doesn't that mean something to you? Don't you understand exactly how much orange juice you can afford to buy? Do you want the gallon? You can't have the gallon. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to actually make sense. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent, $1,209. That makes sense. I like that figure. At the tail end of 2021, the Laconia Daily Sun reported that it costs an average of $1,180,933 to retire in New Hampshire. That's $60,500 more than the typical 65-year-old would spend thanks to New Hampshire's high cost of living. You'll notice the blue states are always higher. The red states tend to be lower. Alaska. Now, this really surprised me. Cost of living index, 127.1, whatever the hell that number is. Realistically, it just doesn't, other than it's like a little higher here, a little lower there than those states, these other states, you wouldn't know what that number is. 127.1 cost of living index. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent was $1,100. Cost of living in remote and reliant Alaska is infamously high. Housing, though, isn't too big a contributor. The typical home value in the state is roughly $311,000, according to Zillow, compared to nearly $326,000 nationwide. Next one, Virginia. Cost of living index, 101.8, so significantly lower than Alaska. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent, $1,344. Although the state offers good tax benefits to retirees, according to Kiplinger, Virginia is generally an inhospitable place to try to stretch a Social Security check, but it depends where you live. Busy and expensive Northern Virginia, particularly DC Metro, drives the state's average cost of living way up. Try the Shenandoah Valley instead, just like the song. That's another thing you have to keep in mind. If you're only on a Social Security check, you don't belong in a city because it's way too expensive and it's only going to get worse. You don't want to be around a city because it's way too expensive and it's only going to get worse. You want to go into the country, like where I'm from, the backroads country. Like there's a count. Oh, my chair. Is it okay? I guess not. I've ruined another chair. It's going to break soon. So, like when I say back country, I mean like off a county road, off a road that says old in front of it, and then there's another road next to it that's just the name of that road. That's what you're looking for, which is exactly what I grew up on. Okay, Delaware. And then I guess it didn't print out the rest of them. Let's see what happened here. It didn't print out the rest. All right, well, whatever. We'll use this as a learning video. Delaware is the next one on this. Cost of living index 107.9, so still very low compared to Alaska. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent $1,307. Tiny Delaware has long been a retirement haven because of its miles of beaches and proximity to DC, Philly, and New York. It's not a place where, and then it says story continues. So I'm going to look up the rest of the article real quick and then give you guys the rest of it. But just obviously realize if you are living on a mountain, if you are living on a state that it's tough to go ahead and get items to, like shipments, etc., like Alaska. If you are essentially living on the water or near the water, then what's going to happen is it's going to be way too expensive to keep up that standard of living continuously over a long period of time. So have a plan B, have another place you could potentially move. And that's like the smartest thing I could say from this article that I don't really like is that have some alternative option of where you can go in case that place becomes too expensive, which means you move out of the country, which some of you are adverse to. Hopefully I'll be able to convince you otherwise after doing this. Now, let's keep reading. Tiny Delaware has long been a retirement haven. It's not a place where you'd want to live on a small fixed income, but the absence of sales tax is as big a draw along with all that coastline. Cool. Next one. Colorado. Cost of living index 105.3. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent $1,341. Housing is one of the biggest expenses facing retirees or anyone else living in Colorado. The typical home there now costs more than $545,000. That's a typical home. That's a lot of money. But the bottom line, William Randall, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I really appreciate it. You donated a bunch over a couple of videos, so I really do appreciate it. Thank you. So guys, basically the big thing here is Colorado, super mountains, amazing, but also kind of difficult to get products to it unless you fly them in. They do have a train system. They do have obviously a lot of 18-wheelers, but 18-wheelers are just known for having a tough time there because their brakes tend to fail. They have a bunch of runaway ramps and stuff like that. If you go look at Hell's Pass, it's just absolutely ridiculous, especially during the winter. It's hard to get things in there because you're way up high. A lot of people don't realize, but like at the low spot in Denver, you're like 5,000 plus feet. Where most people are at, you're anywhere from like 6,000 to 7,000 to 8,000 feet. And then a lot of other people will actually live 9,000, 10,000 feet on some of the luxury mountains. Okay, next one. Oregon, cost of living index, really high, 130.1. Not that really means anything to anybody as a number. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent is $1,114, so that's pretty cheap. The population of Oregon has grown by more than 10% over the last decade. According to SoFi, the state is still home to fewer than 1.81 million housing units, however, which tells much of the story of the state's high cost of living. Okay, there you go. So basically, they don't have a lot of places where you can live, so you got to build in order to live there. Florida, they're saying this is not where you should go to retire, even though everybody does come here to retire. Florida, cost of living index 100.3, so very low. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent, really high, $1,434, which is true. It's disgustingly high for rent here, disgustingly high. Florida has been America's primo retirement destination for generations, but life there doesn't come cheap. You can certainly find less expensive places to retire, but not in America's most coveted beach paradises. In fact, you'll pay a whole lot more to retire on the coast of California or Hawaii. Let me read that again. In fact, you'll pay a whole lot more to retire on the coast of California or Hawaii. Now, just to give you guys a quick heads up, I literally went down to the Keys area to go ahead and just, take one day off. I actually worked half that day, so I've never taken a full day off. But just imagine just constant, beautiful beachside, random people basically in boats along the highway. And when you go to the Keys, you just drive on these giant bridges and there's nothing but water and people having an amazing time on their boat. And I know that you don't necessarily feel the aggressive jealousy that I have for those voters, but it's there. You'll feel it soon. All right, here we go. Next thing, Connecticut cost of living index 121.6. So we're going to get into kind of the more blue states here. Now that we're getting to like the expensive places. January 2022 average one bedroom rent $1,242. Everything costs more across the board in Connecticut, which is consistently one of the country's most expensive states. That includes groceries, transportation, and healthcare. But the real doozies are housing and utilities. And let me just tell you, a lot of the universities there, like you could have a doctorate and be working like a low-level job. There's so many overeducated people in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, especially Massachusetts. So that's honestly, in my opinion, a trap. Like if you want to get educated, you get educated there and then you get out of there. So next state, Washington, cost of living index 111.6, which again, who knows what that number really means in the sense of it meaning anything. January 2022 average one bedroom rent is $1,376. Utilities are cheaper in Washington than in the country as a whole, much cheaper actually, but retirees and everyone else who lives there will pay more than average across every other cost of living category. And let us not forget, it is friggin' cold all the time there. It is miserably cold all the time there. Not as bad as Alaska, but it is cold. All right, Maryland. Cost of living index 124. January 2022 average one bedroom rent $1,397. Only a handful of states have higher housing costs than Maryland. Healthcare is significantly cheaper than average, but nothing else is. You get into these bluer state stuff, and we got Big Baddie coming up next. We got Big Bad coming up next. The next one on the list, is a state that I have the family farm in that I don't feel secure in all the time because I don't get to carry a firearm with me. And that's my safety. In New Jersey, I don't get to do that because their politics and laws are horrific, just absolutely egregious. Cost of living index 115.2. January 2022 average one bedroom rent, a whopping $1,490. So that's like massive. It's just huge. Virtually everything is more expensive than average in New Jersey. I think it's the highest taxes in the country. But the most dangerous hidden cost in the state's notorious high taxes, property taxes in particular. That's why one of the reasons I didn't want my parents to sell that place, because they would and it's over $1 million. They have a special tax for over $1 million. They overtax and then they extra overtax. Residents of the state will pay nearly $1 million in taxes, $932,000 to be exact, over the course of their lifetime, according to Bloomberg. That's more than residents of any other state. So imagine living in New Jersey and being like, you know what? I'm going to pay $1 million worth of taxes as the average American that lives here. That's how bad it is. Massachusetts. That's where I got a lot of my education, my undergrad and my master's. Very backwards thinking. It's so future forward that frankly, it's just destroying itself. But let's go into it. Cost of living index, extremely high, 135. January 22, average one bedroom rent, $1,385. That's because they have extremely poor areas. But if you go to the cities, it's like, one bedroom's like $2,000. Easy. Residents of only 4 states suffer from higher housing costs than the people who call Massachusetts home. Everything costs more than the average in the notoriously expensive New England state, with not just housing, but groceries, healthcare, and miscellaneous expenses being especially pricey. It is stupidly expensive in New Jersey, and even more stupidly expensive in Massachusetts, although New Jersey could be worse. New York, cost of living index, 148.2, the highest we've seen so far on the list. January 2022 average one bedroom rent, $1,588. With the national baseline set at 100, the cost of housing in New York is a whopping 230.1 on the cost of living index. Healthcare is only a little above average, and utilities are actually a little below, but everything else costs more in New York. We're coming to the end of this list, and I just want to let you know, you can tell that basically you just can't live in a blue state. That's what this comes down to. You have to live in basically a red state. That's it. And you could still politically vote whichever way you want, but you have you can't afford it for only an episode. It's just they're so enlightened that it costs too much for people who want to retire to live there. That's what it comes down to a little bit. California, next on our list. Cost of living, slightly less, than New York on the index, 142.2, but still the second highest we've seen so far. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent, $1,652. With a housing index, above 200 and above average cost in every major cost of living category, California has earned its rep as a high-cost, high-tax retirement oasis, except it's not really a retirement oasis. It's only an oasis for the super wealthy. If you're planning to retire on Social Security alone, then the California dream will probably remain just that. Cute quote. All right, now we're down to the final one. Take a moment, guys, and think, what do you feel is the final one? What do you guys feel is, oh, wow, potatoes. Excellent. I love that film series. I loved it. Please like, leave. Yes, guys, if you could, please remember to like this. So I should have started with that in the beginning of the first video I did tonight. Please like, subscribe, and the big thing is please leave 5-star reviews. I really love 5-star reviews. They make me feel happy and full and just awesome. And basically, that would be the best. So like, subscribe, and I'm sorry I'm so bad at YouTube, but those are the things you should help me out with. Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, here's the thing. Take a moment. What do you think is the last state on the list? The one that is most likely that you would not be able to retire on with just a Social Security check. I'm going to give you exactly 5 seconds, except I'm going to cheat you and count down too quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guessed it. It is Hawaii. Really? Yeah, because it's on the Pacific. It's like over there, you know. Cost of living index. Remember, the highest one we saw so far, I think, was New York. Let me see what New Jersey was. No, New York. 148.2 for New York. Cost of living index nearly off the scale. 193.3. January 2022 average one-bedroom rent, $1,706. It is an island. Well, it's many islands, and they are limited in space, so I'm told. Right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean between America's west coast and the far east of Asia is Hawaii. Great. Didn't know that. Which imports everything it can't grow or make on its own from a world away. Retiring in paradise isn't cheap. The typical home there now costs more than $800,000, according to Zillow. I mean, let's be honest, guys. Hawaii is a mega oasis. I personally would not want to move to Hawaii, especially with what's going on with Russia, China, Japan, Taiwan, Australia. I wouldn't want, there's some wavy waves out there that I'd be a little bit careful about. But with that said, yeah, they're mega expensive. I've been to Hawaii. I went there as a really little kid. One of my fondest memories as a little kid is that when I arrived in Hawaii, I went to this place to buy towels with my parents and my sister, and they put this flower, I don't know what it's called. It's the flower thing around my head. And then I went to the hotel, and they made me a smiley face pancake breakfast. And when I find the woman of my dreams and I wake up and she can make me a smiley face pancake breakfast, that's the one. I knew when that happens, that's the one. When there's a smile that's a banana and the eyes are the fruit, that's the one. That, let me tell you. So anyways, guys, I want to do this article as a warm-up for the other videos I'm going to be making. The other videos I want to make, I want them to have real, realistic comparison points that you can understand that aren't just numbers, aren't just metrics. So anyways, guys, I hope you're doing well. This video was not supposed to last this long, but I had a little fun with it. Yeah, Maui is absolutely gorgeous. I don't know if Maui, where's the one where they have the rainbow hotel? There's like a giant rainbow on the side of it. That was another memory I have when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 years old or whatever when I was there. Another one was feeding the fish. God, giant fish, chubby fish. You go in the water with this bag of food and you just feed them, and they're like swimming between your legs, and they're these giant fish. It's just, it's like when you think of like the best places off of Earth, like when you think of like what heaven is going to be like and what these amazing, it's like that. It's like that. Yeah, they have volcanoes, but that's also what makes it such a nutrient-rich area because, volcano area, that's like Guadalupe and Mount Soufriere and stuff like that is very, very rich soil. I'll never get to go there because I'm usually I am poor because of the student loans, but I can watch YouTube videos with beautiful drone footage, And it's almost like being there. If I close my eyes and then just squint really hard and then just get, my eyes fuzzy and my brain hurting. And then it's like I'm there. It's like I can just imagine the sand in my toes. Anyways, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. Guam and Saipan. That's another thing. I want to go over to Taiwan. I want to experience all these islands. I want to do the Great Loop, but maybe if I sell the law firm one day, I'll have enough to pay off my student loans, and then I can, I don't know, maybe get a loan to go someplace. But anyways, guys, I'll catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night. Thank you so much for catching up. And then remember, tomorrow is the biggie. Tomorrow we do the biggie, which is Social Security Administration's Equity Action Plan in action. It's equitable, extra equal equity. All right, I'll catch you a little bit later. Have a wonderful night. Thanks so much, guys. Bye-bye.